I spent many months trying to decide what the heck I was going to say. For the longest time, the only thing I had down on the Word document was just this phrase. But did you die, though? Sorry, humor is definitely my coping mechanism. See, I was afraid that my story wasn't going to be interesting enough, or terrible enough, or uplifting enough. But then I realized everyone has gone through their own individual narrative, and there can be comfort in finding others who can relate to our trauma. So, I'm here telling my story, hoping that it will not only help you guys, but me as well. So let me preface this by saying this is in no way a success story. On February 9th, 2018, at around 1:30 a.m., I was in a nearly fatal car accident. But throughout these past months, I've come to realize that my life was already inevitably screeching to an explosive crash years before I ever stepped into that car. I was born November 9th, 1992, and my childhood was as joyous as it was dysfunctional. I had both sides of the spectrum, non-stop calamity as well as what seemed to be unending luck. And the combination of the two created a woman who was both extremely reckless and determined in her pursuit of happiness. For the past 8 years of my adult life, I don't think I took any time to pause and figure out what the hell I was doing, where the hell I was going. I drowned myself in activities and work in order to never have empty space in which I would be forced to evaluate my life and the toll it was taking on me. I was so determined to prove to the world that I was meant to be successful and happy, that nothing could bring me down, and my approach to any terrible thing that happened to me was to essentially continue on as if it did not faze me. But there's only so much you can sweep under the rug before it can no longer lie flat anymore. On February 8th, 2018, I had once again reached a low point in my emotional stability and self-respect. It was one of my best friend's birthdays, the iconic Viva Listina, and I used that as an excuse to get myself trashed. I blacked out and came to consciousness in my dear friend's car. He was driving me home, and contrary to mistaken belief, he was completely sober. I had a half-eaten fish fillet in my lap, and as drunk people often do, I started being emotional, bringing up my childhood traumas. In an attempt to relate to me, he turned the conversation down the dark path of his terrible, unconfronted past, triggering his PTSD. As he was talking, he started unknowingly driving faster and faster, mirroring the panic that was also bubbling up within him. And at the last second, he tried to take an almost 90-degree freeway exit at 70+ miles per hour. I remember looking at him, his face dark with pain, unrealizing of what was going on. I remember turning to look ahead, the light pole speeding towards me, and at the last second, I closed my eyes, almost sure it was going to be the last time. My eyes open. I heard screaming. I fumbled to take off my seatbelt, my arms seared with pain as I realized it was broken. I realized that it was I who was screaming. I was in pain, so much pain. Where was it coming from? My stomach, it hurt so badly. Help, I screamed, help. I didn't know where my friend was, probably standing outside of the car, staring at the scene in disbelief and confusion. Help, I needed help. I tried to straighten up to get out, but I couldn't straighten my back without experiencing blinding pain. I touched my stomach to feel a swollen pouch filled with excruciating pain. I think I'm gonna die. This scary thought found its way to the forefront of my mind. Suddenly, I hear a car approaching. A man got out, and his presence seemed to snap everything back into reality. I needed help. I will not die today. I needed to get out of the car. I struggled the door open and they rushed over to me. I tried to call for help, but instead, I threw up the fish fillet and tasted blood in my mouth. When they approached, I heard gasps of shock, and my friend said, "Holy shit, what is that?" He was gesturing at what apparently looked like something like a camel's hump on my back. I heard the stranger say he was going to call 911. I felt relief spread through me as I could barely hold on to consciousness anymore. I woke up a few times, once to the pain when the paramedics stretched out my broken back on the gurney, and again when I finally reached the OR, to what seemed like a million people rushing around me, cutting off my overalls, ripping out all the piercings from my body, and finally I heard the sweet, pleasant voice of the anesthesiologist telling me, "Relax, I'm going to put you to sleep now." Tearfully, I whimpered, Thank you. When I was mid-surgery, my friends who were in the waiting room were told by the surgeons to find my next of kin because they weren't sure if I was going to make it. So severe were my injuries. The momentum of the car crash had caused the seatbelt to crush my abdomen and fracture my L2 to L4 of my spine. My stomach was swollen because pretty much every organ in my abdomen was lacerated and an artery had burst in my stomach, causing severe internal bleeding. The amazing surgeons spent hours in surgery doing everything they could to save my life. Yet, as you can see here, on one side you see me intubated, and on the other side you see me not, though these photos were taken within a few hours of each other. Waking up, pumped with delusion-causing painkillers, with my arms restrained, with a tube down my throat, was one of the most confusing experiences of my life, and my initial thought was that I had been kidnapped. When a nice, unassuming x-ray tech came in to check out my fractured left arm and thought me to be sweetly sedated, he took my arm out of the restraint. Within seconds, I had a Wolverine moment. My eyes opened wide, and I mustered whatever strength I had to rip the intubator out of my throat with the aforementioned fractured arm. And in that moment, I, my friends, and my family became sure that I was going to mother effing survive. So here I was, broken, unable to move, in and out of consciousness, and every time I opened my eyes, I saw a warm, loving face. I saw my dad, who I thought was still in China and hadn't seen in months, with his usually steely eyes glistening with emotion. I saw my mom, who was so extremely strong and unwavering, so resolute was she in her faith and prayer. I saw so many family members who I usually only got to see on holidays, there by my side, quietly giving me words of love and encouragement. I saw my friends who rushed over, some still in last night's clothing, teaming up to find any way to make me smile. And I saw a lot of new, kind faces, the nurses, doctors, and staff of the USC hospital. And for some reason, I felt so at peace, serene. It might have something to do with the multitude of painkillers I was on, but nevertheless, I believed that everything was going to be okay. I was filled with gratitude, just happy to be alive. For the next 2.5 weeks, I was to only be fed fluids through a feeding tube in my right nostril, as there was a hole in my duodenum, and through my left nostril, the bad fluids were being drained out of my stomach. Every time I had a victory, I celebrated to myself. On February 18th, I got out of the bed for the first time and sat in a chair. I cried. On February 22nd, I clumsily learned to walk for the first time. I cried. On February 26th, I got the tube on my left nostril taken out. I didn't cry for that one, but boy did it feel good. On March 1st, I walked 3 laps, did a little boogie, and finally washed my hair. On March 7th, I had my first actual shower. I got my feeding tube out and was allowed to actually drink water and eat real food. I was learning how to love the little things in life again. It wasn't all great, of course. I felt the worst constant physical pain I had ever felt in my life. But I also spent hours on end talking and having heart-to-heart conversations with everyone around me, from my parents to my friends to my new friends of the hospital itself. I had terrible nightmares most nights, but I always woke to either a loved one or a warm staff member by my side, comforting me. I had never felt so protected, safe. After about a month and 2 days in the hospital, I was allowed to go home. I had a big, stupid smile on my face the entire time I was being wheeled out. By the time I got to the car, I was uncontrollably crying, as a mix of fear and exuberance and adrenaline filled my body. Ironically, the directions to my apartment from the hospital are the same ones that I took the night of the accident. And I was forced to face the San Gabriel exit off the 10 East Freeway, which had once derailed my life yet again. I started to hyperventilate. My eyes could barely see as the tears were streaming down my face, but I forced myself to keep my eyes open when we took that 90-degree exit. We made it, of course, and within 5 minutes, I had finally completed the 1 month and 2 day journey home.
Midnight strikes, where is my prince? Lost my comfort, more time to think. Broken and bruised, tell me where I am. Feel so unused, help me find your hand. I guess the sun still waits here. Got to hold it up for him. Carry me home. Bear my weight on your shoulders. Carry me home. Nothing else matters. Carry me home. Bear my weight on your shoulders. Carry me home and don't let go.
Said I don't ever say things so you can hear. Yet I waited all for your seas to feel. And now this bottle seems to have the place down and leave to help. And now I feel like I've become your pain. Your darling won't be safe with me.
Got to hold it up for him. Carry me home. Bear my weight on your shoulders.
Oh,
Carry me home. Nothing else matters. Carry me home. Bear my weight on your shoulders. Carry me home and don't let go. Guess I'm still here waiting.
darling, I'm sorry I tried.
I gotta hold it up for him.
Damn, trauma. If dealt with the wrong way, can really screw you and the people around you. But when you find the willpower to see it as a blessing, it could end up being one of the best things to have ever happened to you. I'm going to be bold enough to state that there is no such thing as a good or bad experience. Life isn't meant to be binary like that. It's all about perspective and the emotions that particular perspective evokes. You see, not many people get a second chance at life. Not many people have the privilege of being awakened to the true feeling of gratitude of being alive. But if you have struggled through anything at all, it was for a beautiful reason that is not to be taken for granted. I would go so far as to say that us survivors are the truly blessed ones. When one door closes, kick that damn door down, run outside, and realize there is a whole world of opportunities waiting there for you. I haven't really done much this year to brag about. I focused on figuring out how to heal mentally and physically from everything, and try to understand who the hell I am meant to be. So like I said, this was not meant to be a success story. This is merely the preface to one, a promise of one. I would like to close this experience with a little video that I often watch to remind myself of how far I've come. You are still alive. Stay alive. Thank you so much for watching. This video and the process of ruminating and writing it has helped me in ways you cannot imagine. And I guess you've all saved my life yet again.